sibling hug. Pat, pat.
Welcome to the 4th episode of Awkward Sibling Hug. I'm your host, Phineas.
And I'm Sarah.
You're not a host.
And today... I am a host. I'm your other host, Sarah.
Whoa.
And this week we watched The Hand That Rocks the Mabel, the 4th episode of Gravity Falls.
Can you believe that we're 4 episodes in already?
I can believe that.
Like, we've been playing this whole thing since, March, right?
Yeah.
We've been playing this for a while.
See, I have no concept of time. So
Neither
in my
do I.
brain,
It's called ADHD.
Yeah. Time blindness, I think is what that's called.
Yeah, it's quite the thing, to be honest. Especially, I feel like once you start working, long jobs, I feel like your time blindness always increases and stuff, too.
Yeah, there's... Yeah, once you get into that, that haze, that almost dissociative haze that you get, working... working retail, it just, everything blends together after a while.
9 to 5, except not really 9 to 5.
Working 1 to 9 p.m.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you poor soul.
It's okay. I prefer it. I prefer not having to wake up early.
Yeah, So I've been waking up at I normally set my alarm for 7:30, and then I try to get an extra hour of sleep until 8:30, and then I go, well, gotta go to work. Then I get up and go to work for the day.
I'm sorry. AM? 7:30 AM?
Yeah. 7:30 AM.
Okay, I realize objectively that's not the earliest in the world.
No, it's
in
not,
my world, that sounds like the crack of dawn.
It's better. God. It's better than what I've had for schedules. While I was in Ireland, right, I was going to bed at 3:30 a.m. and waking up at 8 a.m. for my 9 a.m. classes, and yeah.
Oh, that sounds rough.
It was indeed, and I lived
if
that
I get
lifestyle
anything
for
less
months.
than 8 hours, I'm just like a zombie.
I mean,
I can't imagine.
I'm tired-ish as is tonight and stuff too, as we're recording. So sorry if I'm a little less energetic than normal. Just
let's see. I'll try to make up for it. It's my turn. It's my turn to bring the energy.
You got the mic, Sarah, in the spotlight.
I'll do my best. I just drink a bunch of sugar, so
naturally,
we'll see.
As one does. Yeah, no, that sounds fine.
As one does when you sit down to watch Gravity Falls, you have to inhale as much sugar as Mabel would. Or else are you really getting engaged with the show?
You're right. No, you're absolutely right there. But speaking of this episode, The Hand That Rocks the Mabel. Yeah. This is I feel like you go.
This is a really good episode. This is Gravity Falls starts off really strong, and then it has a couple of, for lack of a better term, quote unquote, filler episodes, where it's very just it's about fun adventures in Gravity Falls. But The Hand That Rocks the Mabel is really when you get back, the cliffhanger at the end of the pilot.
Oh, yeah.
This is where you really start to get a firm idea of things in this show. They matter. Things are going to carry over. Even just with at the end of the last episode, there was that thing in the bumper where Mabel's wearing that llama sweater, or she's not wearing it. She's thinking about wearing it, and then Larry King's wax head pops through the vents and tells her, choose the llama sweater. Llamas are nature's greatest warriors. Well, something like that. And then she's wearing that very sweater this episode, so there's that continuity.
Well, this show's sense of continuity is so fantastic throughout its entire run, and I'm always really impressed with whatever they're doing. I think the way that I would look at it, when you... Hang on. There we go. When you analyze...
Say bless you.
Thank you. When you analyze these first 4 episodes, right? I'd argue to the defense of God Wonker that while it's a filler episode, it feels like you're getting more into the motions of a mystery and stuff. Meanwhile, Headhunters, I feel like out of these first four, is the least like important episode of the bunch. I feel like it doesn't really establish too much or change the status quo. This is the episode that I really think like kind of gets going a little bit more of the status quo. Like the introduction of Gideon's pretty major for the whole show.
It's huge, and then that cliffhanger at the end, which I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it because I'm just gonna
assume podcast.
That if you're watching this, that you've seen the episode.
So imagine if this was your first time. If you like, you guys don't watch a rewatch podcast before you watch the episodes,
right? Like the whole vibe is that we're rewatching it. That's the whole dealio. Like if this is your first time watching the show, I totally get it. If you want to like have this as like a companion thing, okay. Sure, Understood. But if you're watching this before you've watched the episode,
right?
What you doing? Go watch the episode and then come back.
Exactly. And
otherwise, you're not going to know what we're talking about.
And I think that's the big thing with it in general, right? When you come to watch it, when it comes down to watching media and seeing how things go, you gotta just like watch the media. Like I enjoy video essays and stuff on things that I've never watched. I've done that all the time, but when it comes to a podcast like this where you're listening to us for a prolonged period of time, go watch the episode, Right.
Either you're here because of the show or you're here because for some reason you have a vested interest in either one of us.
Exactly.
And I'm going to assume most of the time the answer is going to be you have a vested interest in the show.
Yeah, no, I would assume so too. And, like, the nice thing is, I feel like it's steadily going well. Like, we have a back catalog of episodes now, right? Like, it's always weird when you first start off a podcast, because I feel like 90% of podcasts never get a second episode. Like, I feel like there's gotta be a lot of those dudes who are like, we want to start a podcast, people on the planet. And then they do one episode, and then they decide, we just would rather go to a bar for the night.
I really wish that I couldn't relate to that, but I can. So the number of times that I would decide when I was a kid, I'm going to write a book right now. And then I'd write like a page and then I'd get bored and I'd try to write something else.
Well, we know that podcasts are that, but just for like white men,
I suppose so.
I know that's the joke about the three dudes starting a podcast together. The only three dudes starting a podcast I want to see is when Mustache Cash Dash starts a podcast. Yeah, I'm calling them out. They've been joking.
Oh yeah, we're name dropping people now.
I don't mind. One of the members of that channel is coming on in one of our future episodes as one of our guest stars for the episodes. So I don't mind. We're laying the groundwork. This week. It's like how you gotta just set up, like, for any payoff you need to have some setup, right? Because what's a payoff without setting something up? It's like just getting a bunch of money. It feels nice, but like you don't know how you got the money. But like if you set up a payoff right, it feels like you got that little bit where it's like, I know where this is going. I feel like
speaking of
you go.
Sorry. I was going to say, speaking of setting something up for future payoff, that is very much what this episode of Gravity Falls is about.
It is.
It's so much,
establishes Gideon, who is he's the main antagonist of the first season, right? Like, there's no one else who it can be for the first season. Like, Bill's barely here for season 1. Because he's busy doing Bill things.
Which I'm tempted to save this fun fact for Bill's introductory episode, but I kind of want to just say it here. I discovered recently that apparently Bill Cipher wasn't actually meant to be a major antagonist in the show. He was supposed to just sort of pop up in that one episode, but then he became so popular that they, structured a whole story around him.
I think they kind of nailed it with how they created this little triangle dude. But speaking of, Okay, should we get into discussing this episode?
We probably should.
So, okay.
So basic premise, right? So Lil Gideon, he's a little child psychic, and he sort of travels around in like his little tour van, and he's basically like a child evangelist type figure. And he just sort of tours around the country doing his little shows. Yeah.
For some reason, he has a house in Gravity Falls. Like he had the big there. I think they don't actually explain what he's doing in Gravity Falls really. Anyways, like he's from Georgia, so I'm gonna assume that he just emigrated up to Gravity Falls, which is hilarious to me because like, what's this child doing living in Gravity Falls? But it's fine. It's Gravity Falls. It's a little quirky like that, you know.
Because his family is so quintessentially Southern.
Oh yeah,
like they have that strong Southern drawl and just everything.
And the clown paintings.
The clown paintings, and then they're just, for some reason, they've just like parked themselves in this random town in Oregon. But I guess it also makes sense given what we later discover in the episode, which is that Gideon has come into the possession of this amulet that gives him his psychic powers. And gives him his like teleportation ability. And I'm assuming my theory is that he did his little tour. He was doing his little tour and he came to Gravity Falls to do one of his shows, and then he discovered that amulet at some point. And then he decided, oh, this town can give me things. This town gives me access to a kind of power that no other place could. And so that was why his family moved there ultimately.
I forget. That's my guess. What's his canonical age again? I think he's like 8, right?
He's 10.
10? Okay.
10 years old. Which is... Oh, that's so funny. It's so funny because just his character is so diabolical. Oh, I have never in my life met a 10-year-old who acted like this. When I think of Little Gideon, I think of him as this like ageless being.
Yeah.
It's very funny that he's canonically 10 years old.
I think that's also very funny that he is. It says on the Gravity Falls wiki that he was born in 2002, so he's canonically a year younger than me, which feels weird. Like
canonically.
Yeah, I guess I don't know for sure, but I think
canonically, I think I'm the same age as Dipper and Mabel.
Let me look this up. What month it says for them? As we're talking,
because they're 12 years old, and Gravity Falls takes place in the year 2012, right? So they would have been born in the year 2000.
Yeah, they were born in the year 2000.
Yeah. Same here.
So it says currently born August 31st, 1999.
Wait, does it?
It says on the fandom wiki thing.
What? 99?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I was born in 2000.
Oh well.
I was born in January 2000. I just missed it. Oh.
Alas.
Damn it. Sorry.
Okay, so other bits. Okay.
So the main crux of this episode is Gideon's massive crush on Mabel and him trying to sort of manipulate her into being in a relationship with him.
Now, this child is 10, but I'm gonna call what I'm gonna call his massive compensating for the South's homophobia crush on Mabel.
You know, there is an argument to be made, I think. An argument to be made that Will Gideon could be queer.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's that argument.
But, you know, that's weird...
It's hard to tell.
It's weird speculating on a 10-year-old's sexuality.
Yeah.
But
a cartoon 10-year-old.
That's fine.
And it's... Yeah. It's very... And I don't want to employ any stereotypes either.
No, I don't want to either.
I worry. Yeah. But, you know, at the same time, it's...
Yeah.
Compet is a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know the signs, you know the signs.
You know, and hey, we're only assessing a fictional child here, right? Like it's not like we're going up to an actual 10-year-old on the street and being like, gay? ?
because that wouldn't be alarming at all.
No, that wouldn't be alarming at all. This is one of the goofiest episodes I think we've had yet.
I think we're both in very weird states of mind. You're delirious with sleepiness, and I'm delirious with sugar.
Yeah, I think it's a good little switch up occasionally to have for an episode like this.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things that I keep noticing with this show is so much of the humor you never really get as kids or any of the bits. Like, I only am realizing on this rewatch how creepy Toby Determined is sometimes.
Which is fun, because that's the entire joke with his character is how it's just so weird. He's such a weird little guy. He's just his obsession with Chandra Jimenez.
Yeah, I didn't notice that until now and stuff. Yeah, but like past that, there's like I feel like the more and more I feel like when I'm a little kid, right? It's like when you're used to watching the gauntlet of cartoons, right, and especially the ones of the early 2010s. I don't think the Gravity Falls other characters come off as weird, but once you've grown up on like shows like Adventure Time and stuff, and you're coming back to the show, you really notice how weird Gravity Falls' sense of humor and its side characters were.
It's very... I'm constantly thinking about the thing that I learned when watching the audio commentaries for these episodes, where basically their mindset was just... They never thought about, like, would a kid find this funny? Would a kid understand this joke? Their immediate thought was always, do I find this funny? Would my friends find this funny? Would this make my friends laugh? That was the mindset. And it comes across. You can tell in just how organic all of the humor is and how like genuine it is. It's not pandering to anyone.
No, and I think that's the best way to make a show. There's so many shows that are like, okay, this is our target demographic. Bam, 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 bam. But this show, I feel like, is just unfailingly, like, ever its own thing, really, as a show. And I think...
You never get the impression that... Yeah. Sorry.
No, and I actually deeply admire the hand that rocks Mabel, right? I was kind of thinking about this. I don't think I mentioned this to you yet. But I've been kind of thinking... I feel like this episode is kind of a counterbalance to the pilot episode, where it sort of deals with one of these whole, like, crush storylines, but much more from Mabel's perspective, which I like. Because, like, one of the only issues with, like, or not an issue, but with Tourist Trap, it feels very much so still from Dipper's point of view. And this one feels way more to be a Mabel episode in, like, almost every way.
Which is really nice. It's really nice to get that. It's a very, very much needed perspective. And I love how they flip on its head. Like, a lot of... Especially in the pilot, they established Mabel as a very, like, boy crazy girl, and a lot of her, like, crush/love subplots are pretty much always about her pining after somebody.
Right.
So it's really interesting to get to watch her get really stressed out about trying to figure out how to basically reject Gideon because she just doesn't feel the same way.
And she's a people pleaser.
Can't figure out how to do that.
Yeah,
she's a people pleaser. She's really sweet. She doesn't want to hurt anybody. And it's so it very much I love, especially when this came out. I've always loved this episode because when it came out, I was sort of around Mabel's age, and I very much struggled with the same thing where on the rare occasion that a boy would have a crush on me, I would oftentimes get really freaked out about trying to figure out, because it was never a reciprocal thing. Like, if I liked somebody, they didn't like me, and if they liked me, I didn't like them. And trying to figure out how to gently turn somebody down was just, I would always get really, really stressed about it. And just watching Mabel experience that same thing was very comforting.
Yeah.
In a way.
And the whole thing I think is really interesting with this episode. It's just, I think it's really interesting how, like, parasocial the town gets on the whole thing, with how there's several scenes where it's like, where they're like really getting like oddly invested in relationships with these two children for them, right? They're not fictional to them because it's their universe, unlike us where they are fictional characters, but they're getting very attached, trying to like ship names. Like the entire world sort of is revolving around this one like little thing. Because Stan's subplot is him. I actually think Stan and Bud bonding for a little bit is kind of sweet.
Oh, it was such a good subplot. Like so good.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually like Bud a lot as a character. I think he's really funny in every episode that he's in, from what I remember and stuff. Which is like all the Gideon stuff is really great. There's a great cast that like comes around with him each time. I think it's like in the next episode where he appears, where they do the bit with his mom that's like terrifying low-key.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, his poor mother. Oh, that woman. I worry about her.
I do too. And
yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's just something. This episode was just also really funny too. I also think it's funny that when they went through Wendy's ex-boyfriends.
I also read the Gravity Falls wiki, and I read that apparently, according to this episode, if you count it, she has about, I believe, 8 ex-boyfriends that she lists off. Like 8 different guys. I
remember my reaction to the whole thing. She said the one with the tattoos, and me and my perfectly normal mind was like, oh wait, oh no, you need to be 18 to have tattoos. Wendy, what have you gotten yourself into? But it's like probably some like Allie, because Wendy feels like someone who does crime.
It's such an innocent joke. I wonder if they didn't think through the implication of that.
I don't think that.
Yeah, my rationalization is just, yeah, she knows people who know like back alley tattoo artists.
Yeah.
And so she dated like a 17-year-old who got like a back alley tattoo.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's hard to pick a favorite
Maybe they
joke.
just had fake ID.
Yeah. No, there's definitely some rationalization that the Disney censors used. I just always think, like, seeing what they always try to get through the censors, it's really interesting thinking, because I feel like there would be some Alex Hirsch cut of Gravity Falls that could be, like, not Disney censored, if that makes sense. Like, a director's cut.
I know we'll never see that, because a director's cut of an animated show is probably impossible. But I wouldn't give to see that.
Yeah.
Or just like a Gravity Falls movie where it's just, you know, nothing standing in their way. They just do whatever they want. That
exactly.
But it's probably not going to happen.
No, but I'm trying to think of other like standout moments from this episode. I
know. Because I was thinking about the like, what's my favorite joke from this episode, and I was trying to figure out like, there's a lot of really good jokes, but there's nothing that stands out to me too particularly.
I always remember the little old lady who's like, if she says no, I'm gonna die, and it's like, oh no.
If she says no, I'll die of sadness.
And then there's a doctor immediately after who's like, I can confirm that would happen. Which is just
it's so funny, and the timing is perfect. It's so good.
It's gold. But anyways,
I really love the clown painting, the bit with the clown painting in Little Gideon's home and Bud's home when Uncle Stan goes over to visit Bud Gleeful.
I think every interaction between Stan and the Gleefuls is gold. Like I think his rivalry with Gideon that he has, like I think the whole thing with Gravity Falls is the like recurring more antagonistic characters add so much flavor to the series. Like we've not even gotten into the Northwest family, but the Northwest are also fantastic characters.
They are, especially into season 2.
Yeah.
I really love how they get into that.
But no, well, anyways, I think we have a segment to do, don't we?
Yes, we do. Sarah's Fun Fact Corner, which I still don't have a soundbite for.
We'll get one soon, I promise.
I'm working on it. I've just been busy. So this week for Sarah's Fun Fact Corner, I don't really have a fun fact as much as I do fun speculation.
Ooh.
So generally speaking, nobody really knows who exactly Lil Gideon is based on. Exactly, there isn't a specific. Alex Hirsch has mentioned that he is based on a child evangelist that he saw on the TV when he was a kid. but he's never confirmed exactly what child evangelist that was.
Right.
If he even remembers, who's to say? But people have speculated that he is based off of a child evangelist from the 1960s named Larry Hal Larimore. And unfortunately, this is a podcast, so I cannot show you a picture. But if you look him up, the image of him, the one image that the internet seems to have is just delightful. He's got the powdered blue, like, sports coat that Will Gideon has. And it's just a delightful picture of him.
What's his last name?
Larry Hal Larimore. It's the image of him is so funny because he's like holding a Bible behind him and he's pointing at the camera. He's got a big grin on his face. It's very cute. And just based on the image, I can see how this might have been the inspiration. Although he was from the 1960s, so I'm not sure.
I mean,
if Alice Hirsch would have ever seen him on the
reruns. I assume.
Maybe. Although I'm not entirely sure. There isn't a lot of information on him from what I've been able to gather. It's mostly like this one image that we have is from like a little promotional thing that it was doing for local tours. So I'm not sure if he ever had any like television specials or anything. I think he might have just been on the radio, but I'm not sure.
That's fair. Well, yeah, though.
There is one other.
Okay.
Yes. There's one other figure. Not a child evangelist, but a musician named Wayne Cochran.
Okay.
Who, if you don't know who he is, look him up. His appearance is uncannily similar to Will Gideon.
Oh yeah, I see it in the hair.
Surprised if. Yeah, I think Will Gideon's design is very much based off of Wayne Cochran's. I mean, just the like white pompadour hairdo is just eerily similar.
Can you imagine
I think appearance wise.
I think it's so funny that like his parents just were like, "Yep, let's dress our child up like this."
Are you talking about Will Gideon, or are you talking about
Will Gideon?
Yeah. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Will Gideon came out of the womb like that. If he just came out screaming and demanding to have his hair styled.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Well, heck yeah. No, this is just a really great episode all around. Really great character work. We got to see really a lot get developed. And yeah.
Yes, and there's the cliffhanger at the end when it's revealed that Will Gideon is in possession of Journal 2.
Which
huge
is
cliffhanger. I think the first big cliffhanger.
It is. It's the first like major detail that I think gets dropped in. And unfortunately for it, we have 16 episodes before we get another clue.
No. Oh, they really drag it out. Man, watching it as it aired was just excruciating.
Right. But yeah.
They drop this hint and then
Yeah, no.
Just leave it hanging.
They have to, you know? But here at Awkward Sibling Hug, we're not going to leave you hanging.
No, we're not. Yeah. We have concise, non-cliffhangery episodes over here on our silly little podcast.
Yes. Sorry, I'm so tired for this one. It's late items. Yeah. Well, next episode should be better for y'all audience members.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to enjoy next episode. I think it's going to be good.
Well, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed our very 4th episode of Awkward Sibling Hug.
Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
You guys are amazing beyond all belief. All right, bye.
Bye.
Awkward Sibling Hug.
Awkward Sibling Hug. Pat, pat.